Today I'm going to walk you through how to connect an external booking system such as Calendly to ProLine using Zapier. The first thing that we want to do before we even hop over into Zapier is we're going to just make sure that our event types are set up correctly in ProLine. So we have our inspection, production, materials check, and we want to make sure that we have the event trigger filled out the way we want it for the event type that we're going to be connecting to that external platform. Normally this would be for like an inspection or initial appointment is usually what Calendly or an external booking tool will be used for. And so and that's what I'm going to be setting up today is I'm going to be connecting this inspection event type to Calendly via Zapier. So I just want to make sure that this start campaign, we have the right campaign selected, and then move to stage, we have the stage that we want selected, just making sure that's all set up properly and good to go. So now we're going to go here, and then we're going to hop over to Zapier. We're going to create a new Zap, and in this new Zap, we're going to and you can actually get a lot done with this AI from Zapier, but we're going to set it up manually just so that you can see. So we're going to start with Calendly. I already have a Calendly account connected to ProLine. With this trigger, so invitee created, for Calendly specifically, invitee created is the trigger that we want. That's going to trigger, that triggers when a new event gets scheduled. For this webhook subscription scope, you are probably going to want to set this as organization. Unless you're setting up this Zap for only a single member of your team, and specifically whatever account you have connected here, so presumably your account, then you're going to want to set it to organization so that it runs for everybody that's in your Calendly account. So now we are going to test this, pull in. I have a event that I just scheduled as a test. And so I'm going to use this and the data from this in my action. Now, one thing that I want to do, or that you can do optionally, depending on how you're using Calendly, if you have a lot of different event types for different things in Calendly and you only want to run this app for some of them, then you're going to want to use a filter step, and you can select the event type name is most likely what you're going to want to select, and then you can do contains, and then you can run this Zap, continue this app only if the event type name contains, and then whatever it is that you want to have it to contain, inspection, whatever it is. Now this is an optional step. If you don't set this, it's just going to run for all events scheduled in Calendly. And if you're only using Calendly to schedule a single event, so only for booking inspection appointments, then that's totally fine. You don't need this step. But we'll leave it in here for us. Then we're going to set up a ProLine action, and we're going to use, there's a lot of stuff in here, but we're going to use the create or update project event. So you might be asking yourself, well, why don't we use the create or update event action? And the answer is you can. It's just that for that to work for a normal use case with Calendly, you're going to have to use about 7 different actions from ProLine to find all the correct find the correct project, find the correct team member, and sort of duct tape it all together. This create or update event is just updating or creating an event. Versus this create or update project, we've built this out because projects are the primary object in ProLine. We built the project action out to include both contacts and events, specifically for this kind of use case, because there's complexities here where sometimes someone's scheduling on your website and they're a brand new customer, right? So then we got to create a project for them. Sometimes they're scheduling on your website and they've already been inside your process. They're already in your system as a lead, and now you just need to schedule an event for them. And so there's a lot of different situations that come up and a lot of different logic. And rather than have you build that all out using different Zapier actions, we've just made it super easy where you can just connect this one create or update project action. and it will do all that logic for you. So it just makes it really simple. So creator update project in ProLine is what you're going to want to use. You're going to connect your ProLine account. I already have mine connected, but if not, you can connect a new account and then just pull in your API token. But I'm going to select this existing account. Okay. And then we're just going to go top to bottom here on this action, because there is a lot of fields here. And you can see here we have the event fields, we have contact fields. We're going to start up here on the project. So edit by project ID, with this action coming from Calendly, we're not going to have a ProLine ID available for editing, so we're going to completely ignore that. This next one, though, edit by external ID, Calendly does have, it's a little weird, but it does have something we can use as an external ID. And the use case for the external ID is that we can save the external ID for the scheduled event from Calendly, and then we can, if the event gets rescheduled, we can have this same Zap, it will run again for the rescheduled event, and it will locate the existing project rather than creating a new project, which is really important. Because otherwise, every time someone reschedules the event, create a new project inside of ProLine. So this allows... this tells ProLine, no, actually, we want to use the event or the project that was already associated with this external ID that's coming from Calendly. And for this to work, we're going to use the old invitee URI. The URI is the closest thing to a unique ID that we have coming from the Calendly side, and so we're going to use this as the external ID. Now, the only caveat here is if you have ProLine connected to other sources that are also using that external ID, you might want to not do this. You can still, there's this edit by contact that we're going to enable. So there's other ways around this. They're not as reliable, but there's other ways around this where if you don't want to be using the external ID field for the project, you don't have to. But if you have nothing else set up that's using that external ID field on the project, then I'd recommend doing it this way for Calendly. So you have old invitee URI, and then we're going to enable this edit by contact. What this means is that if ProLine finds a matching contact for the supplied phone number and or email coming from Calendly, it's going to look for the most recently created open project and is going to use that project instead of creating a new one. So similarly to the edit by external ID, we're just editing by the contact information. So we're going to enable this as well, because again, we don't want ProLine creating duplicate projects every time an event gets rescheduled, or if a new event gets scheduled for a project that's already active in ProLine. Project name. If you want this to be like an address or something specific, you can fill this. So if I wanted the leads coming in to be to always have the street address, I could do it this way if I wanted to. But you can also just leave it empty, and ProLine will just use the first and last name from the contact section. So it's up to you. This does not have to be filled though. Location, ProLine's going to automatically select the right location based on proximity to the address. So you can just leave this empty if you prefer, or you can, if you're wanting all bookings to go to a specific location, you can select that. Assignee is really cool. This actually accepts not only a unique ID, a ProLine unique ID, which we don't have, but it also accepts either the full name or the email associated with the ProLine account. And so what we can do here is we can select custom invitee created in Calendly, and then we're going to look at the host. So we're going to find host email, scheduled events host email, and we're going to type that in. We could also, I believe there's a host name. Maybe not. I think it's just the email. So, but this, as long as this email matches up with the email associated with the user inside of ProLine, then this will find the correct assignee and assign this project and event to the correct person inside of ProLine. All right, move to stage. So move to stage and start campaign. I recommend leaving these empty as they're going to get overridden by that event type There might be situations where you'd want to fill these and then not set it on the event type, but I just think it's going to lead to a lot of not the behavior that you're probably looking for. If the behavior you're looking for is I want to schedule an event and I want it to start the appointment reminders campaign and I want it to be in the correct stage for appointments, then I would set that inside of ProLine on the event trigger and then leave these empty on the Zapier side. We're going to fill out these address. And one thing with Calendly that's weird is it just sends through this data as like questions and responses too. So this is the answer to questions and responses too. It's very confusing, but you're going to you might want to look it up by the test data, and that's going to show you what goes where. So we don't have an address line 2 that's coming through, at least not for this event, though if you did, you could fill that in. I'm going to again look for city. So that's the question. The question is city, but I want the answer. So, and that's to questions and responses 3. I know I put Atlanta, so that's going to pull it up. And then we have state. I put Georgia, so I'm going to search that way. And then we have zip. I can't remember what I put for this. Started with a 3 though, but I know it's also 5. Oh, there it is. 5. Question and response is 5. Answer. Okay. So we have project. Usually you're going to want to leave all these blanks since you don't know until you pre-qualify exactly what these are. And we actually do have service information coming from this Zapier. Let me see if I can pull up this book. I wonder, do I have a booking page or maybe a reschedule page? Anyway, I have services coming through. I was going to actually show you the Calendly form that we're connected to here, and it does have a list of services that the booker can select that they're looking for, like roof replacement, gutters, siding, roof repair. The thing is, you don't normally, there is ways that you could try to connect this directly into ProLine to set the services on the project, but typically you don't, because you want to check that information. You don't want to give the user the ability to just put anything they want onto the project like that. So the better way to do it, I'll show you the better way to do it here in a second. Website project tags, these are not the same as lead sources. We're going to set lead source as well, but it's often nice to be able to set these tags on the projects just for tracking purposes, so that you know, like, okay, well, Calendly was used with this project. It's not the same as a lead source, but it is still useful. So you could look back and say, oh, we used Calendly on these last 50 projects. That's useful information to know. All right, so custom fields. If you are using the custom fields in ProLine, you can push data into those. Those custom fields look like this. If you have them filled out, you can set them up on your projects under custom text. So if you want to have those, if you want to push data into those, you can. New external ID. So we were talking about external ID at the top. The external ID at the top is editing by external ID. So we're pushing in the ID that we want to try to find a project for. Down here, we're going to save the new, we're going to save an ID if we're creating a project. So this only is if we're creating a project. Well, actually, it will update the existing project as well. But this is the ID that then we want to be able to search later if we're trying to update the event and project. So we're going to use this invitee URI. The invitee URI is this is going to push in the current URI. So one weird thing with Calendly is that it does change this URI every time you reschedule the event. Even if it's the same event, if it gets rescheduled, it gets a new URI. And URI is just a weird way of saying URL, but it does contain, it is always unique, so we can use it as that external ID. But some developers like to say URI instead of URL. All right, so we're going to save that invitee URI here, and just once again here at the top we have old invitee URI, because when an event gets rescheduled, that old invitee URI is going to be the previous URI that was already saved, but we want to save the new one down here. Now we're getting into contacts. Again, just like project ID, we don't have the ProLine contact ID, so that's we can skip over that. We're going to want to save the first name and save the last name. You can also push in full name if you prefer instead of first and last name. Then we have phone. I have it as my first questions and answer field here. So I'm going to pull that in, phone, and then we have email, invitee email. And then we can set this is just going to default to whatever our default is in ProLine, which is usually a customer or something like that. But if we wanted to select it, we can. And then lead source. The one reason you might not want to select it, well, it's not going to matter. You're just, generally speaking, if you like how the default's set up in ProLine, I would recommend just not setting as little as possible out here where it's a little harder to access. Lead source is going to be important. So lead source, we're going to select, depending on where this is, we might select like website or something. So this is only if we're creating a new contact that doesn't exist. This won't be applied to existing contacts if they're being referenced or updated. And so this is just if this is a new person, brand new person, then we're going to assign a lead source to it, depending on where this is located. So if you're using this Calendly on your website, that's the situation I'm looking at here. But you could easily have lead sources for all kinds of other things if you prefer. Tags, if you do want to tag the contact, you can. And this again is on the contact, not the project. And just to cover that real quick, so this is a project. These are its contacts. So we can look at it this way as well. We have main contact, other contact, and these are a separate area. So we're setting the tags here as opposed to setting the tags here, the different sets of tags. So that's it for tags. Now we're getting into the event. So similarly to the project, we are going to want to use this external ID system. So we're going to again use old invitee URI for edit, and then down here at the bottom we have new external ID right here. So we have invitee URI. Okay, so we have old invitee URI, and then we have start date. Make sure that you're getting old invitee URI here, and then a new one here. It's very important. Event type, we're going to select that inspection event type. If you have multiple locations across multiple time zones, then you might have the time zone system in ProLine enabled, in which case you can pass the time zone. This is, invitee time zone. You can pass that. Otherwise, don't worry about it. External reschedule link. So reschedule URLs, which you're going to want to pass into there. That gets saved in ProLine, and then you can push it into any kind of automations or text or emails so that you can expose that if people need to reschedule. And then exclude from integration. This is a very important one, and generally speaking, you're going to want to have this on. What this means is that Calendly is connected to your calendar setup generally, your Office 365 Outlook calendar or your Google Calendar, and it's going to automatically create events on the calendar for people that schedule through Calendly. And so if you're integrating this with ProLine, and ProLine is also connected to your calendar, without this enabled, ProLine will end up creating a duplicate event on your calendar. So for every event that gets scheduled through ProLine, there will be a second event that gets scheduled from ProLine, unless you have this turned on. If you have this turned on, it tells ProLine, for this event, do not create events on Google or Outlook calendar because we've already created it on the Calendly side. And so once And so it just keeps those duplicate events from getting created. So generally speaking, you're going to want to have this on for this use case. And that's it here. So we have all that ready to go. We can test this step. And we'll see this pop up in ProLine. So project created. And then we're going to see we have AJ test here. It has that event on it. There was a contact already in here with that same number, so that same phone number. So ProLine referenced that instead of creating a new one entirely. And then this project, I believe this project was just created. No, so this was an existing project because it found the existing contact and it found the open project and it went ahead and used that instead of creating a new one from scratch. So that demonstrates that didn't even use the external ID, that was using the edit by contact info. And so it is using this existing project instead of creating an entirely new one, which is really cool. If we go to events, we're going to see that we have that event here that was scheduled and that this is queued up inside of a inspection reminders campaign. So, all right. So that is now good to go. And if that event gets rescheduled, it will restart the appointment reminders campaign here. This will get restarted if the event gets rescheduled. And if an entirely new, if someone's filling out and their info is completely different, then it's going to create a brand new contact and project rather than this one right here, than reusing any of the existing ones. So that pretty much covers it. Hopefully that helps. If you run into any issues with this, you can always reach out to our support down here in the corner. We train up our support team on basic usage of Zapier as well as ProLine, so they can often advise and help with this setup as well.